think it's getting enough attention. I think we tend to overlook the importance of doing things right within the environment to encourage people to be there and to be at their best.
Right.
And this is what really employee engagement is seeking to do. So that employees come in and they want to give not just their 8 to 5, while you don't want to overburden your employees, you want your employees to want to have that drive, to want not just to be there, to give off their best and more. That's really what employee engagement seeks to do.
Yeah. Well, you know, I always say employee engagement is about how connected your employees are to the business.
Correct.
Because that connection is going to be reflected in, you know, how willing they are to go above and beyond without even being asked
to do so.
You know, how passionate are they about the things that they're doing, you know, how passionate are they about their job, and how much initiative are they demonstrating. To me, all of these things, you know, will reflect the level of engagement that you have.
Correct. And of course, you see, the thing, you made a very good point, connections. It starts with people feeling connected. You cannot be engaged if you don't feel that you are connected with, say, for instance, the leadership of the organization. If your organization is working in silos, then you find that there is a disconnect between departments or fractions within the organization, and of course that doesn't lend itself to productivity, because we are working as a team. It is supposed to be a connection of different units or different divisions working towards a common goal, and connection is key.
Now, you know, usually when people talk about employee engagement, you know, the first thing that comes to mind, barbecues and games nights and stuff like that. So I mean, I feel like all of these things obviously contribute towards it, but this is just one little piece of what employee engagement is. And you know, I've said before in previous settings that employee engagement requires a combination of things for you to really achieve it. It's not, there's no quick recipe. There's no pill. There is no specific process that just, you know, you do that and automatically your staff are engaged. It requires efforts and a combination of things.
Correct.
So what do you think are some of these things that contribute towards that employee engagement?
When I think employee engagement, I think the tone at the top, leadership. I think what is leadership demonstrating? Right? Are they in touch? Are they dialoguing with employees? What is the level of communication within the organization? Are employees given a voice in decision making? Are they participating in any of the major things, decisions that are happening in the organization? Do we consult with our employees in terms of change management? So, for instance, if you are moving in a particular direction, how involved are your employees in that process? And that's one of the things that inhibit change. Because what you find is that once you don't involve your employees, it's difficult for them to buy in. And once there is no buy-in, guess what?
Resistance.
Derail.
And drama.
Your efforts may tend to derail, because of course you cannot go without them. Right? You may think you can make it alone, but of course an organization involves not just the persons in the lead in terms of leadership roles, but of course the ground people, the folks. And I tend to call them your foot soldiers.
Yeah, but listen, these foot soldiers have a lot of valuable information, you know. And leadership teams tend to ignore that.
Correct.
And not appreciate the true value that these foot soldiers have. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. The importance of ensuring that communication, keep the communication lines open. You know, you said about when persons are not involved, there is a level of resistance that comes with change naturally. So just imagine when you're throwing change down their throats without any consultation, you have double resistance.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's time for a break. Imagine that. The time is going by really fast. So stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back where we continue the discussion on employee engagement.
A great deal on my furniture. Great stuff. Super strong. Best thing on the market.
Your furniture says a lot about your business. For best quality, durability, and style, Global Office Furniture from Renick is the only choice for any serious business. Don't be fooled by cheap supplies from other commercial houses. Let Global Furniture speak for your business. Think Renick and Company. Think global, because value is always in style.
The business environment is rapidly evolving. We must continually adapt to remain competitive. At HRWise, we help businesses create and sustain a competitive advantage through their people. Let us help you develop solutions for recruiting and selecting the right talent, improving employee engagement, managing performance, and much more. Realize the true potential of your workforce. Harness the power of your people. HRWise, we partner for success.
I'm often asked, what's the best part of my job? And I'm quick to say it's the tasty part. The presentation, the cooking, the creativity, the quality. The moment I peek to see another satisfied guest and client in all possible settings, cutting, biting, sharing, and smiling, knowing our team at GCG Events is simply outstanding.
News and information, facts versus opinion, reality versus perception, dissemination versus speculation, the truth of one side, the other side, both sides, no sides. What do you think? How do things affect you? Politically incorrect. It's about us. It's about time.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. I'm joined here with Mrs. Charmaine Anthony, and we're talking about employee engagement. So Charmaine, we talked about what employee engagement is, and I think the next step would be to identify why is it important. I mean, we talk a lot about, we need to ensure employee engagement, and it's not just about barbecues and games nights. It's a lot more than that. But why even bother? Why is it necessary for companies to invest the time and resources in ensuring that their engagement levels are high?
Gority, I think we both know the answers to that. We know that the gains from employee engagement is, far-reaching for any organization. Of course, there is a return on engagement, I call it. What we find, we know what employee engagement is. We are HR professionals. We understand the jargon. However, sometimes it's difficult for leadership. They may not necessarily have a background in HR, and for us as HR professionals, we have a role to help them, to guide them along, and to really help them understand what we mean by employee engagement and what the company stands to benefit from that. Right? They first need to understand what employee engagement is, the harm a disengaged workforce can cause, and of course, what we tend to gain if we create an environment where our employees
and both sides of the spectrum. I mean, you can't really put a value on employee engagement when it's done effectively, and you really can't put a value on it when it's not done properly. I mean, we know that, and in an environment where engagement is extremely low, it has detrimental effects on a business. Can even result in the closure of the business.
Correct.
Because if your employees are not doing what they're supposed to do, you're constantly wasting time dealing with grievances that may be raised.
Discipline.
I mean, constantly disciplining it impacts your employer brand.
Absolutely.
Because your recruitment is going to be impacted. Who wants to come work for you when you have a history of people being disgruntled at work? So the implications are far-reaching, but similarly the benefits are far-reaching.
Exactly.
And so when we invest the time and resources into ensuring that we have a very engaged environment,
customer satisfaction.
we will see the good things, the increase in customer satisfaction levels, your brand reputation being improved. You know, so it's just amazing the effect that employee engagement has.
Of course, if your employees are engaged, they're able to translate that level of positivity to your customers.
Right.
Your customers tend to be a little bit more loyal because of the level of service or care that they receive from your employees. At the same token, you have less persons leaving, so that in itself is a gain for you. You are able to retain your You're able to retain your high performers. Your turnover is low. The cost of recruitment, training, development, etc. is significantly decreased. And just your bottom line altogether is impacted positively if your employees are engaged.
Yeah. Now, some of the other things that we need to be mindful of that contribute towards employee engagement that sometimes we take for granted: the compensation package, reward and recognition.
Correct.
All of these things play a role. We have to balance it out. I always say, and I've said in previous shows, that HR is complex. It's multifaceted. Correct. We have all these different pieces that must come together to ensure that we do it right. So reward and recognition, I think it is important that we demonstrate
fairness.
Yeah, fairness and a simple respect. Because you will notice, I guess, in our environment that plays an extremely large part, because I hate all the time. I'm not sure about you, but I hate all the time. These people have no respect for us.
Well, true.
So, a lot of people place value on that, on respect. And so you don't communicate clearly, they see it as disrespect. You don't pay them enough, they see it as disrespect.
Correct.
You don't say thank you, they see it as disrespect. So we need to ensure that we create an environment, and you mentioned it before, an environment where persons feel comfortable enough to share, an environment where they are able to make suggestions. They are allowed to make mistakes.
Yes.
That too.
Yes.
That they are allowed to make mistakes. Because, you have to have a developmental environment where, if I make a mistake, I don't have to be afraid of losing my job over that one mistake. I'm not saying that you allow people to just make mistakes repeatedly, but once in a while, allow them to go through a process and learn from
learning
it.
Opportunity, actually.
Yes, creating a learning environment, I think, is important as well for employee engagement.
Having said that, I recently attended a conference, and I can't remember. It is WD-40 Worldwide, and the CEO was there, and he made a presentation, and he said, in his organization, we do not make mistakes. We all have learning moments.
All right.
And that for me was so inspirational. As an HR person, I thought, wow, what a way to look at it. What a perspective to see, to view an error from, and coming from the top. If your CEO regards an error as it's a learning moment, it's an opportunity for me to learn how best to do it next. So for me, that was so touching, just to hear that from somebody at that top level. Yes, it tells me that, and it didn't surprise me that his organization was 95% engaged. So from the annual survey,
that's hard to get. 95% engaged.
They were 95% employee engaged based on their survey.
Interesting.
Quite.
We need to pay attention to that business.
Yes.
We definitely need to see what it is that they're doing that seems to be working.
Yes,
exactly.
yes.
Yeah. Well, imagine that the time is going by so quickly, Charmaine.
Oh.
It's time for another break. So stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I'm often asked, what's the best part of my job? And I'm quick to say, it's the tasty part. The presentation, the cooking, the creativity, the quality. The moment I peek to see another satisfied guest and client in all possible settings. Cutting, biting, sharing, and smiling, knowing our team at GCG events is simply outstanding.
The business environment is rapidly evolving. We must continually adapt to remain competitive. At HRWise, we help businesses create and sustain a competitive advantage through their people. Let us help you develop solutions for recruiting and selecting the right talent, improving employee engagement, managing performance, and much more. Realize the true potential of your workforce. Harness the power of your people. HRWise, we partner for success.
A great deal on my furniture. Great stuff. Super strong. Best thing on the market.
Your furniture says a lot about your business. For best quality, durability, and style, Global Office Furniture from Rennick is the only choice for any serious business. Don't be fooled by cheap supplies from other commercial houses. Let Global Furniture speak for your business. Think Rennick and Company. Think global, because value is always in style.
All right, caller, thank you so much for tuning in to Daily Buzz. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Join me every day on Choice TV for Daily Buzz. Be connected and stay up to date on the latest trends in fashion, music, events, news, health, and so much more. Only on Choice TV. I'll keep you buzzing.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. So Charmaine, it's been an interesting conversation, and you know when we're having fun, the time just goes by so quickly. And again, we're talking about employee engagement. So
what a topic to choose.
I know, right? But I will definitely need to have you back so we can continue that conversation.
Not a problem at all.
I think we need to touch on a little bit about what can employers do to improve their level of employee engagement. What do you think?
Okay, my thoughts on that really, first and foremost, there is no one size fits all. Like you said earlier, it's not that you just take a pill and whoops, employees are engaged. For us, for any organization, what you need to do is to really examine your organization. See what are some of the things that you can do. Every organization is unique in its own way. Its culture, the types of employees that you have, start to think about the generational mix that you have, you know, and you can start tackling it from different vantage points. But some of the key things that employers need to be mindful of, and we noted it earlier, we speak about communication. And I like to start from the top. I like to say the tone at the top is what is going to set out your engagement platform.
Talk about leading by example.
Lead by example. When we speak about your core values, are you demonstrating the values that your organization is trying to embody?
Right. What kind of culture are you creating?
Exactly. And it starts from the top. You know, your CEO, he needs to take on his role not just as Chief Executive Officer, but Chief Engagement Officer.
That's right.
And of course, it starts with him or her. So you have to direct your employees in that way and direct the organization along the path towards becoming more engaged. What is your communication style? Sometimes we speak of having an open door policy, and you really don't have an open door because the organization is designed in such a way that even whilst the door literally is open, people don't feel.
Yeah, because it's bureaucratic or it's, yes, you have silos.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there is that disconnect. We need to connect with the people. Management by walking. We tend to overlook the importance of coming down to the ground.
You know, that's a good point, Charmaine, because I'll tell you something that I always had a challenge with. We have persons within the middle management level who are not really doing the job that they're supposed to be doing. So they're busy doing the work of the people who are reporting to them. So they're doing, so let's say you're managing the sales department, you're busy selling.
Right.
When as a supervisor or manager, your role is to supervise or manage that team, to coordinate, to oversee. That's what the role should be. But I think our organizational structures are developed in a flawed way. And so we will always have that challenge when it comes to walking around, management by walking around, because what time do you get to do that when you're so busy doing the actual work?
Well, you should well, we have to design our work in such a way that we are not caught up doing, just the day-to-day transactions.
Don't allow you that flexibility.
I know.
So I think we need to find a way to influence a change in how we structure our organizations, understanding the value that middle management layer has on the success of the business, and more so on the effectiveness of employee engagement. Because I like that point about walking the floor. That is so powerful. Simple, yet powerful. Absolutely. And we need to find a way to do more of it, I think. Yeah.
But I always say, in as much as you may be caught up doing a lot of stuff, it's important. You see, the same way we find the time to say, take a break for coffee, and even whilst you're taking that break for coffee, it's an opportunity to engage.
Absolutely.
It is walking the floor. Walk around with your cup of coffee. Go and touch base with the team. Find out how they're doing. It is just some of the smallest things that matter to people. People will never forget how you make them feel.
That is so
and
true.
That is so important for employee engagement. And for us managers, well, I mean, as HR persons, we know, but it's our role now then to help the managers, right? To help them and guide them insofar as employee engagement is concerned. Before we kind of not digressed, but went a little deeper into management by walking, we were looking at the areas that organizations can delve into to boost their employee engagement. And one of the things that you find is most organizations carry out surveys. But what do you do after you've heard feedback from your staff? Do you respond? Do you act on their feedback?
Do you even give them feedback on
correct.
the survey?
Do you even present the findings to them to let them know, okay, these are the areas that we are doing well.
Right.
These are the areas that we need to work on. I need your support. I will work with you. And here are some of the things from your feedback that I am suggesting that we can do to work forward towards, creating a better environment. And it's really important. Like, for me, I find like sometimes organizations just disregard. They conduct the surveys annually.
But you know why, Charmaine? Because they're ticking boxes. That's why.
Right.
It's nice to do a survey.
It's a nice
It's the trend to do a survey. But do they really understand why it's necessary to do the survey? Because to me, if the intention is right, then you would be motivated to do something about the results. But in most cases, what we see is they do the survey so they can say, yes, we've done it, and nothing comes out of it. So to me, that genuine interest in doing it is not there. It's just ticking boxes.
But and of course, if your employee engagement levels are already lagging, that is just going to add insult to injury.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, exactly. So, we must make an effort as businesses, as professionals, to ensure that whatever it is, and that's communication, that's all part of the communicating. You send out, you're asking for feedback, you need to close the loop.
That's right.
Here is what you said, and here is how I can assist.
Yeah. Okay. And it's an opportunity to take your employee suggestions and demonstrate to them that we value your opinion.
Exactly.
And we value it, and we're showing you how much we value it, because we are going to now implement some of the things that you've suggested.
Exactly.
And I think that plays a very big role.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And another thing too, we mentioned earlier in terms of involving employees in our processes, in the decisions that we're making. At the end of the day, the organization has the final word on major decisions in the organizations, but you can't begin to put a price or to see the value in involving your employees.
And people are more connected when they have a say,
Yes.
When they feel like I contributed towards this, they own
it.
Yes.
They own it, and they want to succeed.
Exactly.
And so they will give their best. They'll encourage their peers, those who are not so on board. They will find ways to get them on board.
Yeah.
So half your work is done for you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Guess what, Charmaine?
We're not out of time.
We are completely out of time. We are completely out of time. So, Charmaine, I want to thank you so much for stopping by the office. I definitely look forward to having you again, because there's so much more that we need to talk about.
Oh yes.
So much
We
more.
have not completed that engagement.
Not at all. So we need to have another
We can
session
go on for days.
I know. All right. So thank you so much, Charmaine. And thank you so much, viewers, for watching. We look forward to seeing you again next week for another episode of The Office, where our door is always open.